Well, ladies and gentlemen, you know, as you read the story of American history and you see how important our religious beliefs were to us, how it was the foundation of our life, can you believe now that the motto, quote, "In God we trust," is being considered extremist? That's according to a leftist group of Democrats called the Free Thought Caucus. They're determined to erase that phrase from history, and that's just the beginning of their all-out assault on people of faith. This will shock you. Here's Jennifer Wishon.
Many Americans celebrate President Trump as the most significant champion for religious freedom in a lifetime. His actions made Christians feel secure, and now secularists, humanists, and others feel empowered to unravel Trump-era protections.
It all goes back to the May 2017 executive order by President Trump.
That day in the Rose Garden, the president used his pen to ensure Christians and other people of faith aren't required to check their beliefs when entering the halls of government, and prevented the federal government from going after pastors who speak about political issues from a moral perspective.
We will not allow people of faith to be targeted, bullied, or silenced anymore.
Now that order tops a long list of Trump administration actions that secular Democrats of America want President-elect Biden to erase. Represented by the Congressional Free Thought Caucus, the group paints Christians as extremists and urges the incoming administration to marginalize people of faith, relegating them to the back pew of the public square. Part of their to-do list, ensure humanist and non-theist chaplains serve in each branch of the military, refrain from using the national motto, "In God we trust," and reframe patriotism by avoiding phrases like God and country.
In order for them to advance this new Democratic Party agenda, which is leftist, which is Marxist at its core, they have to eliminate a vibrant Christian Orthodox faith in America. It stands in their way.
Democrats will also push the incoming administration to amend the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, beginning with the Do No Harm Act, introduced by then-Senator Kamala Harris last year.
That act would gut the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. It would make it inapplicable to cases that involve sexual orientation and gender identity, as well as abortion.
These attempts to marginalize believers come as the media and even elected officials increasingly push the narrative that people of faith are unfit.
Unfortunately, we see that senators are increasingly treating religious beliefs with great suspicion and even hostility.
Demonstrated, Gal says, in the 2017 appeals court hearings of now Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett, when some senators treated her Catholic faith as a disqualifying characteristic.
The dogma lives loudly within you, and that's of concern.
In Barrett's Supreme Court hearings this year, Senator Ben Sasse pushed back against that statement.
Because religious liberty is the fundamental 101 rule in American life, we don't have religious tests. This committee isn't in the business of deciding whether the dogma lives too loudly within someone.
Nothing could be more dangerous for the future of America than to separate America from a vibrant, God-fearing faith of its people that will ensure the tranquility and peace and justice that America so desperately needs.
And Perkins suggests conservatives take a page from the other side's playbook. That means using every legal option available to make efforts to roll back religious freedoms as slow and painful as possible. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News.
Well, that Marx, who said religion is the opiate of the people, it's sort of a narcotic they can take, but it's not real. We live here in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and it was on these shores in 1607 that a group of people who were leaving England came to these shores, and they knelt in prayer around a cross on what is called Cape Henry, which is part of Virginia Beach on the Atlantic Ocean, 1607, April 29. And they claimed this land for the Lord Jesus Christ. It belongs to him. And attempts to take it away are going to be frustrated by Almighty God because he's not going to let it happen. Well, in other news, COVID relief is on the way to help people suffering in this economy. So what does spending billions on climate change have to do with it? George Thomas explains this extraordinary bill.
That's right, Pat. COVID relief legislation, as you mentioned, is headed for President Trump's desk. It provides a $300 federal boost to unemployment benefits, $600 in checks to individuals, and billions for small businesses. The relief was attached to a huge government spending bill, some 5,600 pages in all. While it passed overwhelmingly, some legislators protested the size of the bill and the rush to pass it without time to review. Now, some of the items included in the bill are coming out, including climate change legislation authorizing $35 billion for wind, power and clean power, and some $10 million for gender programs all the way in Pakistan. Huh?
When we are having a financial crisis, why would we spend $10 million to tell the people of Pakistan about gender equality? Doesn't that just boggle the imagination? Yet that's what's going through. And climate change, wind and solar and all this. And ultimately, they want to do away with fossil fuel. I was talking to an oil man yesterday, and I said, they're trying to do away with oil. And he said, yeah, but they don't have a car that can run electric across the continent, no way. And they haven't yet found an airplane that's going to fly without gasoline. And so all this stuff is nonsense. Wind and solar and billions of dollars for climate change, all this having to do with COVID relief. It's just incredible how the Congress wastes your money. George.
Pat, outgoing Attorney General Bill Barr is breaking with the White House as he gets ready to leave office. Monday, Barr responded to questions from the press about whether he would appoint a special prosecutor to investigate the 2020 presidential election. Here's what he said.
If I thought a special counsel at this stage was the right tool and was appropriate, I would name one, but I haven't, and I'm not going to.
Asked if he would appoint a special prosecutor to investigate Hunter Biden's finances, Barr said there's no need because the case is being handled, quote, responsibly and professionally. Pat?
You know, we just can't sweep that under the rug. And perhaps a special counsel, those special counselors are an abomination in my opinion. But do we think President Biden is going to let his son get away with all this? You know, not only is Hunter involved in terrible financial dealings, but the younger brother of Joe Biden is involved in a nursing home disaster that he's being investigated. So you have multiple investigations, and you ask yourself, is the man who says, my son is the smartest person I know, you think he's going to allow these prosecutors? Usually the rule is that all the counsels, all these people, the federal prosecutors across the nation all resign when a new incoming administration, and then they have a chance to appoint their own people. We've had one in New York that didn't want to resign, but he was supposed to, and he comes out strongly against Trump. But you know, that's the rule. And, you know, Biden's no different. And so is he going to leave in place? But at the same time, if Bill Barr doesn't think a special prosecutor is in order, that's their call. But I just don't know about that. George?
Pat, former Minnesota Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann is set to become the new dean at the Robertson School of Government here at Regent University. Bachmann is the first Republican woman from Minnesota to win election to the House of Representatives, where she served 4 terms from 2007 to 2015. She ran for the Republican nomination for president in the 2012 election. She is also the mother of 5 children and worked with private foster care agency to house 23 children in their home. Pat, she begins her service at Regent University on January 1st.
I happen to be the Chancellor of Regent, and I'm just thrilled to welcome this distinguished lady as Dean of a school that bears my name and my father's or somebody's name, Robertson School of Government. Anyhow, she's going to be an outstanding dean. This is a tremendous university, and this is just one more step in bringing it to international preeminence. George?
Pat, we head overseas for a moment. It looks like the Jewish state is heading for its fourth national election in just 2 years. If the government there cannot pass a budget today, then it will collapse, forcing new elections. It seems all but inevitable after legislators voted Monday night against a bill to delay the budget deadline. Unless an agreement is reached, the Knesset automatically disperses at midnight, and elections will be scheduled for March 23rd. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu blamed the Blue and White Party for withdrawing from agreements and forcing the country into what he is calling unnecessary choices during the corona crisis. Pat, if we thought we had it bad here in our nation, 4 elections in just 2 years, wow.
It breaks your heart, because Israel is our dear, dear friend, and it's the only really vibrant democracy in that whole Middle East. And but what will happen is, when we are having this so-called interregnum here, we've got 2 administrations, we've got people going back and forth, and now you've got Israel without a sitting government going back and forth. Don't you think this is the time that the people, Erdogan and his crew would be, and the Iranians would be emboldened to attack Israel? I really believe, of course it's in the Bible, but I really believe that's coming. And the stage is being set. It's like chess. The players are all being set up so that this attack is going to come, and it's written in the Bible, and I think we're going to see it. And it's going to be tough on Israel, but the Lord himself, according to the Bible, is going to defend Israel. George?
Pat, back here at home, so it's Christmas season, right? And so you might think it makes sense to include a cross as part of your holiday decorations. But one North Carolina homeowners association didn't see it that way. Mark Martin has this story of a couple who stood up for their beliefs.
James Faison says after Easter earlier this year, his homeowner association said he could put up a 6-foot cross during the holidays. But after he and his wife did that for Christmas, they received a letter.
We were shocked. We really were. We were shocked, especially whenever the email had referenced that the cross was not representative of Christmas.
Faison told CBN News the North Raleigh couple was even more surprised when the Homeowners Association told them they had to provide biblical references connecting the cross to Christmas.
As if we didn't know why we had the cross up for Christmas time. And I knew they had stepped out of bounds just asking that question. And it was an attack on our religious freedom. And so we just decided, hey, we're going to keep it up. We want to fight this. And so we kept the cross up.
The HOA even threatened to fine the couple.
The letter of the final notice, it said that we will be fined $100 per day after the letter if we did not take our cross down or provide biblical references to support it.
The couple provided the Bible verses. Also, a local media outlet contacted the Homeowner Association. CBN News also reached out to the HOA and received this statement. The community's elected board of directors has agreed to allow Mr. Faison to display his cross for the Christmas season. The board rescinded their letter and request to remove the cross. Mr. Faison was never fined. Mr. Faison already has a 3-foot-tall cross on permanent display at the front of his home, which was never in dispute. Faison says the case has been resolved and is no longer under review. Perhaps an example of what can happen when homeowners stand up for their rights.
The Community Association president says because James Faison calls the second cross a Christmas decoration, the community's policy states that holiday decorations are to be taken down 2 weeks after a holiday. Mark Martin, CBN News.
Thank you, Mark. In our nation's capital, the Museum of the Bible is open for Christmas. And while things are a little different this year, as you can imagine, it is still very festive. CBN Washington reporter Jenna Browder takes us there.
It's Christmas at the Museum of the Bible, and while things are a little different this year because of the pandemic, it is still incredibly festive. We were just there. Take a look. It is a warm welcome the moment you walk in with this amazing Follow the Star exhibit in the museum's Grand Hall. Intricate light sculptures, digital displays, and music all come together in a beautiful retelling of the Christmas story. At the center, this giant Star of David.
What I'm doing is creating a new concept with the idea of harmony and peace.
And backed by popular demand, renowned sculptor Tim Schmalz. His sculpture, The Nativity, just unveiled.
Mary, Joseph, and Jesus together in a way that, although they're distinct individual figures, they complement and harmonize together. A scene of absolute joy and love.
How about a taste of international culture with this Christmas in Malta exhibit? 10 handmade nativity scenes, all crafted in Malta. A centuries-old tradition there, constructing these elaborate landscapes called cribs.
Come see us. We would love for the public to come see the Museum of the Bible.
Museum CEO Harry Hargrave.
We've had over 1,700,000 people come through here over the last 3 years, and of course this year has been truly abbreviated. But we are open. We're open 7 days a week. We were the first museum to reopen. And we're looking forward to seeing a lot of people.
He predicts attendance will be about 25 to 30% of what it normally would be this year because of the pandemic. And of course, the museum is following the government's COVID commandments. That means no large in-person events. Regular visits, though, no problem. In light of the pandemic, the museum has an exhibit dedicated to healthcare workers.
We have an area about early American history where we delve into the work of healthcare and, of course, the biblically based organizations that have also provided healthcare around the world.
Whether it's this exhibit or any of the others, Hargrave wants the museum to be an uplifting place for visitors.
We hope it to be a place of hope, a place of assurance of what the truth is. We think the Bible is the truth. It's a book of encouragement.
And we could all use an extra dose of that this year. And we should mention the museum also has a Christmas market, family nights, and other activities. There's more information online. Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Thank you, Jenna. The place has seen over 1 million people, and Pat, you were among one of those, right?
I've been delighted to be there. I tell you, the Greens don't do anything second class. That place is absolutely fabulous. I went out from there just mind-boggled at the splendor of what they've put together. It's magnificent, and I don't know about the number of guests that are available to visit now, but it was a treat for me, and I just was thrilled to see it. I mean, just absolutely thrilled. And this thing for Christmas is one more. It's beautiful.
It's a gift to America.
It's a gift to America, to the world.
The world,
But
yes.
the Green family, let me tell you, they never do anything second class. I mean, it is. You say, how could you possibly do that? Well, they just write checks and they just do it.
They do it top notch.
And they bought things that you wouldn't believe. I mean, it's just awesome. So if you ever get a chance to get up there, I don't know what the rules are now about COVID and all that, but it's a treat not only for America, but for the whole world.